So yeah, I guess...
Andrew, if I'd known we were going to need to understand electricity, I would have brought an expert onto the show.
I'm also not sure what would happen if a bubble was struck by lightning. I really want to get a Tesla coil and some bubbles now.
This is like a real Mythbusters with all the questions and none of the answers.
Yeah. Welcome to Myth Posers.
Yeah. It works in more ways than one.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you.
Well, it's another beautiful day in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
It's another beautiful day in our neighborhood.
Sure.
We always start the show with a weather report, and now so does Mr. Rogers.
What does he say?
I just mean he goes to the
the
weather station this episode.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But he didn't actually, there was no weather report.
No.
Like he showed the equipment and we could infer if we were familiar with the equipment what kind of a weather report.
I mean, we know that we know where the rainstorms were on A Day in 1981.
Yeah.
In, I'm going to say probably Pittsburgh area.
Sure.
I should know. There was a map. I could have told you, but I didn't pay that much attention. I don't know the states that well enough. There's just too many of them. 10 is enough, I say. 11 on the outside.
I'm Steven.
I'm Andrew.
We've already started the podcast.
Let's get into the episode.
Yeah. Episode 1474, Volume 1, Episode 14. Mr. Rogers.
Has some paper fans.
Yep.
He describes paper fans in, I think, a fun way.
What does he say?
He's talking about paper fans, and he says, describing what fans do, he says, it makes the air come onto your face so you can be cool. Yeah.
Sure.
It's sort of like one of those explain your job but using only the 100 most common words.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some spaces in here where Mr. Rogers says some things that are silly on their face, but it's for preschool children,
Yeah,
so
you
it makes
gotta
sense.
limit that vocabulary.
Yeah.
So he's got some paper fans, and then he says, "Oh, wait a second. I like folding paper. Let's fold some paper fans."
Yeah, let's go. So he goes over to the kitchen, he blows some paper around first to demonstrate.
Yeah, and he got the paper kind of slid off the table and then hit one of the chairs. And once it hit the chair, it was like doing a funky worm.
Wibbling. Yeah, I see you drew that.
I did.
Yeah. You're an artist.
I guess.
You've also drawn, you've drawn a guy.
I did. That's the guy from the weather station.
Okay. He looks like a turn of the century plutocrat to me, but
I don't know what a plutocrat is.
like a capitalist, but worse. More top hats. Anyway, so yeah, he folds a paper fan. I sort of zoned out because I knew how to fold a paper fan already.
Yeah, me too.
He goes through it pretty slowly.
You didn't pull any crazy cat ear tricks this time.
But I guess everybody has to learn how to fold a paper fan from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, that was probably Mr. Rogers' neighborhood.
Yep.
He gets a little bit Edgar when he's folding the paper.
Singing.
Yeah, singing
those words.
Fold and flip or whatever. So those are the instructions. If perchance this is where you learn how to fold a paper fan,
fold and flip.
You just fold it like an inch in, you flip it over, you do the same thing.
That describes no one who's listening to this.
Probably not, but maybe. Maybe.
I can't argue with that.
And then Mr. Rogers wants to take us for a field trip to the neighborhood weather station.
And who are we to argue?
Who are we to argue? And so we go to the neighborhood weather station for like half the episode.
Yeah, it's basically just like a residential house that it's located in.
Yeah, which it's very well, I don't know. I've done some work in like field site locations for oil companies and stuff, and that's fairly on brand. It's just sort of a small mobile home. This one isn't mobile home. This has a garage, which is this is especially residential.
Not especially residential.
Yeah, not right. Exactly. So yeah, the weather station trip takes about half the episode. Did we get anything good out of it?
The people that work there are named Leslie, Bob, Tori, Wayne. I thought Fred, but that was just them talking.
That was just
saying
them
his
talking
name.
to Fred. It was convenient him showing up when they were all mic'd up.
Yeah, that's true.
That was handy.
So they're trying to explain how weather forecasting works, and then they're like, "Well, maybe this guy can show you how it works." And he's like, "Oh, well, we better probably go downstairs."
Is that what he talks like?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. He was like kind of a Frank Oz kind of a guy.
All right, I'll buy that.
And then they go downstairs and they turn on the radio thing.
Yeah,
and
we
then
get to look at radar.
Mr. Rogers is like, "Well, how does this work?" He's like, "Oh, maybe it'd be better to understand if we went outside."
Yeah, so we go outside and we look. For a bit, I was hoping we were going to go up at the top of the tower, but we just stand on the ground and look at the tower.
Satellite tower.
Yeah. In Mr. Rogers asks him, "Does anybody live up there?"
Right.
Pointing up at this big radar bubble on top of a tower.
I mean, he's just preemptively asking what the children are asking.
Yeah. But it kind of makes him seem like a very silly person.
Uh-huh.
Then there's a bit of that where he asks some questions that seem silly coming out of an adult's mouth.
And then he finds out about the weather balloon. And
they blow up a weather balloon. That was kind of neat.
And there's a parachute on the weather balloon device. And he says, "This is folded up so it doesn't catch the wind. But let me show you." And so he unfolds it. And then they never fold it back up again before sending it into the sky.
Yeah. I also noticed that. And I don't know, maybe that's...
Maybe it's like in the instruction book you're not supposed to unfold it, but I've been working here a while and things are pretty slack.
Yeah, well, I wonder if it's because the way it was folded up initially, I'm like, I'm not sure that's going to catch the air as it's falling and open up like it's supposed to.
Right.
So maybe, but the way he describes it, it certainly seems like this is how it's supposed to be. This is how it will eventually be.
Yeah, no,
I'm never going to fold this up again.
He specifically says that it's folded up so it doesn't catch the wind on the way up, and then he unfolds it and they send it up like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope that he just sort of described the reason it was folded badly and didn't just write off that weather radar device, that weather testing device. This particular weather station uses hydrogen in their
instead. Yeah, he says
balloons.
Other places might use helium, but
some places use helium. We use hydrogen, which immediately I'm like, oh my goodness,
red flag.
Mr. Rogers is in this room with a hydrogen bomb, essentially.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure what a hydrogen bomb is. I assume it's not just hydrogen that blows up because hydrogen combusts. Yeah. So then we head back to. Are we going to the land of make believe?
Yeah. Mr. Rogers heads home and he says, "So did you think yesterday about what weather might be bad for a world that loves bubbles?"
I mean, I feel like if we didn't, we figured it out by now.
Yeah. Although I thought of more weather types that might be bad for
most of them.
Yeah.
Bubbles are astonishingly delicate.
Wind, rain, lightning, tornado, tsunami, hurricane, hail.
I don't know that lightning in and of itself is bad for bubbles.
If it strikes them.
I don't know that lightning is going to strike a bubble.
It's not going to avoid the bubble. Let's just...
Land of make believe?
Yeah.
Land of make believe.
Let's do it.
Everybody hop on the trolley train. Come on, ride the trolley train. And I think it's a song from the 70s.
Perfectly sung.
Thank you.
So we arrive in the land of make believe. Handyman Joe Negri is there.
Yeah.
Trolley is there.
Handyman Joe Negri has decided he's going to be wind in the opera, and he's very excited about it.
Yeah, he just last minute, everybody's kind of settled on their.
Yeah. And I guess he'd earlier decided to be a bubble, and I forgot about it.
Yeah, Joe Bubble. And
right.
In the last couple episodes, they were talking about making a bubble costume and a bubble sweater for him.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they got this far thinking, oh, he could be a bubble, and just now he's like, well, I'm going to be the wind.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how much they have scripted.
It definitely makes it feel like this is a very seat of the pants operation.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that they're actually pulling together this opera that we're going to see tomorrow in the space of tonight.
Yeah, they talk about how when are we going to have time to practice the songs together? Yeah.
They're like, oh, we'll do that tonight. It's really...
You can tell they're really busy because, they're just walking from place to place practicing the songs in this episode. They just got the songs yesterday.
Yeah, they're practicing the songs, and, there's a bit where Reardon is sort of, doing his bit of the plot, and then Lady Aberlin jumps in with sort of her part of the plot, but then she
Right.
like has a question about like the third act.
Yeah, and she jots it down.
So it really feels like they're writing this in a very lopsided sort of way. She's
Right.
like, not even the third act. She has questions about sort of the inciting incident.
Right, yeah. It's definitely an interesting method.
It's a weird method. Also, we're hitting a lot of songs that presumably we're going to hear tomorrow.
Yeah, or just get cut.
Yeah. Joe's talking about how he's going to be the wind. He blows Trolley around. King Friday comes out.
Right, and then they...
There's a good bit where the Trolley, in his ding-dongy sort of way, asks if he can be excused because he's a Trolley and has to...
Yeah, they do like
do
the
his
whole,
job.
the usual Trolley and Joe Negri, I presume, and then Trolley and Joe Negri, Trolley just dingles, but it's correct as usual, King Friday. And then they start talking, and then, like, it kind of interrupting them, the Trolley dingles again, and then King Friday's like, oh, yes, you have important stops to make, you can go.
Which I've never seen anybody ride that Trolley, but okay. I mean, I guess we do.
We know that Grandpere and Colette rode the Trolley from the airport.
True. We don't know where they got off. I've never seen the
Do we know that
station.
they came by an airport? This is the wrong week to be asking these questions. Okay.
So yeah, the King Friday sort of discussing, wind. There's an interesting idea. It is like, wind would be pretty bad for a land of bubbles.
And then Joe's like, well, maybe the people of Bubbleland will have to think of a way to stop it.
Yeah. And then King Friday says, this is really shaping up to be a mystery story. King Friday does not understand what a mystery is.
Yeah, someday they'll do a mystery opera, and then he'll understand the proper tropes and themes of a mystery opera.
And then...
wondering how to resolve the conflict of an opera does not make it a mystery.
No.
That just makes it a plot.
That just... Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the great detectives of our time, the hero's journey.
And then King Friday is very busy, so he has to leave. And he says...
Joe Negri asks, do you want me to blow you away?
Yeah, he says, I could blow you away. And King Friday says, well, that might be pleasant for a change. Let's try it. And
This is a very whimsical King Friday. I don't know if we usually get this.
King Friday is half laughing through a lot of his lines, I find.
I mean, I guess that's true. But, I don't know. I mean, he wasn't really in the last week, and the first week he was the antagonist.
Right.
So he's having some fun here.
Yeah, it's true.
So-
So Handyman Joe Negri does a big huff and puff,
And he blows King Friday away.
Like, he just blows him backwards down the hall.
Yeah. And King
And
Friday's
he
like,
goes off into the distance.
This is interesting. No.
And very abruptly, Lady Elaine, as she always does, very abruptly,
It's great.
pops up and says, "How did you do that?"
Yeah.
She's finally seen someone with powers that might parallel her own.
Yeah.
Someone able to push around the king.
She wants this king blowing away tech. It raises the question, is Handyman Joe Negri because like he blows the trolley back and he blows the king down the hallway.
Oh, you're wondering if he actually has supernatural blowing abilities?
Yeah, is he really that good at blowing, or are they playing along?
Well, Lady Elaine
unclear.
Lady Elaine seems to think that it's supernatural
Lady Elaine
powers.
seems to think, because she
is immediately
she wants it.
jealous of his powers.
And in fact, immediately says, I'm going to be the wind in this opera. You can be the hummingbird.
Yeah.
This is the most cruelly petty I think we've seen Lady Elaine.
Yeah, Lady Elaine occasionally acts like just a child.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times.
Yeah, it also shows, I think, the most insecurity that we've seen
right
in Lady Elaine, because she was all in on this hummingbird.
Yeah, she was very confident about...
But she immediately backed it down.
She's like, whoa, there's a more powerful character in this play than my character.
Yeah, Lady Elaine craves power.
Yeah.
Lady Elaine wishes to be an all-powerful genie.
She specifically craves power that is demonstrated to push around her rival, the king.
Yeah.
And so she basically forces upon Joe this idea of, you're going to be the hummingbird now, I'll go get your tiny costume.
Yeah, your tiny puppet costume. She even says when they're talking about how it's much too small for her, well, maybe you could make it a puppet.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Maybe you can make a puppet of it, which is weirdly meta.
Yeah. Yeah, they never really talked about the dramatic size difference between these characters, but here they really got into it.
Yeah.
Without really explaining.
Any of it.
Some adults in this world are 12 inches tall.
Some of them are not.
Yeah. So while Elaine is off getting Joe's new costume.
We could just call her Elaine.
It's just how I have it in my notes.
Fair enough. I always have Lady Elaine.
Reardon shows up.
Reardon shows up. He asks if he looks like a newsman. He doesn't. He's just
wearing his new sweater. Yeah.
I mean, he looks like a newsman in the sense that he has the
period
hair and mustache.
He looks like a newsman in that before he got into costume, he looked like Anchorman.
Yeah, exactly. He is dressed like Ron Burgundy before there was Ron Burgundy.
Yes. And so he talks with Joe briefly, and then Elaine comes back and hands him his new costume, and Reardon kind of puts her in her place.
Yeah, so she's immediately talked down. He's like, oh no, the hummingbird is...
I mean, he is the royal opera man, so he does have some clout.
Yeah, and he knows how to deal with divas.
And he's also maybe one of the only people that Lady Elaine respects on a level of herself.
Yeah, that is also probably true.
And so he says, no, you have to be the hummingbird. It's a very important role.
Very important part.
And she's finally convinced when she's told that the hummingbird is potentially as strong as the wind. And so she immediately writes a new song called Strong as the Wind.
Yeah, or sings a song that they had already written.
But she had forgotten about
had not intuited the meaning of yet. Yeah, it raises the question of how much, is everybody just writing their own songs
and so immediately that conflict with Lady Elaine is resolved.
Yeah, in and out in the space of a pretty short Land of Make-Believe segment already.
Yeah, we spent too much time at the weather station, and we've got to develop and resolve conflict.
I mean, I was sort of genuinely interested in the weather station bit, so I won't complain.
Right.
But
Reardon starts singing what I would say is like the title theme of Bubble Land.
A real interact.
Never any trouble in Bubble Land.
I've never pronounced a lot of these theater words out loud. And then Lady Averlin comes by. She's done up a map for the set.
Yeah, she's working on props and also dictating Reardon's ideas.
Yeah, and writing them down. It's a very small prop in retrospect for a presumably stage production.
They'll put it real close to the camera.
Yeah, I guess it's not really a stage production. It's for television. Weirdly,
it's for the eye of imagination. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a huge population of the Land of Make-Believe that we never see, or maybe I'm going to say 7 people who aren't part of this opera will be watching.
They also in this scene clarify that Lady Averlin is going to be a sweater factory manager named Betty.
Right.
Presumably, like Betty Averlin.
Yeah, using her real name. I wonder if it's going to be Weatherman Reardon.
Maybe. Maybe they're all going to be...
They did do Bob the Bull.
Huh?
Bob.
Joe
Bull, right.
Clement shows up dressed in his porpoise costume.
Yeah,
which
casually drops the fact that he's playing the weather porpoise.
Yeah, I figured that the reason this tied in with bubbles is because porpoises make bubbles.
Yeah, and I figured that the weather aspect was going to be... Well, I think I even said last episode, they've got a newsman. There's your weather segment. He's going to read the weather. No, the weather is handled by a porpoise.
Yeah, he's a weather porpoise.
Who seems...
What?
I'm going to say uniquely unqualified for the weather.
Because he's always underwater.
Because he lives underwater.
I mean,
exactly.
The ocean experiences weather in a different way than we do above land, but I think they still experience it.
Yeah, but that's not a useful report unless Bubble Land is also underwater.
It might be.
I would say he could maybe give the shipping report.
Right.
Like, okay, watch out for the English Channel. I don't really know what the shipping report is, only that everybody references it if you watch enough British television.
He'd probably be able to tell you when a tsunami is coming.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Could he tell you before the tsunami got there?
Yeah, because he's farther out.
Okay. So you just got to give this porpoise a cell phone.
Yeah.
So.
He's in the field.
I guess.
The water field called the ocean.
Yeah, fair enough.
And they decide in this scene that they're going to use hand fans to represent the wind, which seems like a like, don't they have some kind of an industrial fan they can? I don't think that
mean,
most
yeah,
stage
although that's
productions
gonna be
use
loud.
hand fans.
I mean, for hundreds of years they did.
Did they?
Yeah.
Did they not?
And
have...
electricity was not always invented.
No, but
drama is older than
you could still make
special
a
effects.
like a fan that is powered by, I don't know, a crank, like a large fan.
I don't know
that you
if
can
that's necessarily going to be the most efficient.
I just don't think a
Or
hand
the
fan,
most-
even if you had like a big, I don't know, some kind of a specialized big sheet, like a parachute, you could produce more wind. Like a hand fan is gonna, if you're holding it in your hand, you can feel a breeze on your face. I don't know if you
Maybe
can
I'll look up
get much farther than
old
that.
theater special effects now. I know there was a real. I know somebody was. Oh yeah, right. That's where "Stole My Thunder" came from.
What?
You know the phrase "somebody stole my thunder."
Yes, I'm familiar with the
Right.
phrase.
Well, apparently, I don't know how accurate this is, but I've seen it, so let's say it's true. The guy who first invented the effect of, oh, if we take a big sheet of metal, we can bang it around and waggle it and make thunder sound effects for plays.
The idea got copied?
He used that in a play, and then later he goes to some other play. I
Oh.
think he was even reviewing the play,
Mm.
or I don't know, but somebody else used the same effect, and in response to this, he said, they've stolen my thunder. Yeah. Learn something new every day here.
Something.
Out of the land of make-believe.
Yeah, there's nothing else to do.
All right. Everybody get on the trolley.
We gotta let him practice.
Everybody get on the trolley.
All right,
And I know.
you get to do this today, so
I
that you
don't
never
know
get
the
to do it
lyrics.
again.
I believe peace train's coming. Hop on aboard the peace train.
And we're back in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
We're back. Mr. Rogers sums up sort of the elements that are given the opera.
He says next time, tomorrow, we should imagine that Joe has a very good costume.
Yeah.
Because he realizes that with this casting switch of playing the wind,
Right.
they haven't had time to make costumes because that was last episode.
Well, and there's some talk about how we're going to make a costume for wind.
yeah, so they say, let's imagine... let's keep Joe in our prayers.
But he has this bit where he's talking about, he's like, wow, this is going to be some opera. You get porpoises, a newsman, sweater factory, hummingbirds, wind, bubbles.
It has it all.
Bananas. And I'm like, Mr. Rogers, bananas did not enter into it today.
Oh, but banana boats.
Banana boats were in the previous, but nobody mentioned bananas. Bananas are going to take everybody surprise come Friday because they'll all have forgotten.
Mr. Rogers says, let's imagine that Joe has a great costume and can fly.
Right, yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe it was our imagination that also empowered him to have superhuman blowing skills.
Maybe. Or maybe to next week we're just going to imagine some wire work.
Maybe.
Mr. Rogers is imagining.
But he didn't
away.
say let's imagine that Joe Handyman Joe Negri has a great wind costume and great special effects to fly. He says let's imagine that he has a great costume and can fly. So I don't know.
I could go. He also doesn't say tomorrow. Let's imagine that Joe Negri is the wind.
Maybe Lady Elaine has such magical powers because she normally
We
finds
will it to be so.
she normally finds our favor to receive such powers.
Maybe one way or the other. Mr. Rogers is imagining away the whole show's production budget.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, they gotta make Joe fly next week. I think this might be the one that I remember.
What claim can you make to cash in on that next week?
I think that Joe will go inside of a box and come out all crazy looking. I'm going to say reminiscent of like the Winter Warlock from
Rudolph?
No, from Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Is that a Rudolph
The
production?
It's the other, I forget their names. I always forget their names. But one of those stop motion numbers. Not specifically him so much as sort of their aura of what a windy type person would look like. And then he flies around, I feel like a factory.
A sweater factory.
Yeah, that's the part that doesn't make sense so much. I mean, I guess it makes as much sense as anything. I'll just tell you next when we see it if it's the one I remember, and you'll have to believe me, frankly.
Okay. Mr. Rogers whips out a film canister about hummingbirds.
Yeah, loads it up. We're going to watch some picture-picture.
And there was hummingbirds. We learned some things that we already knew about hummingbirds, and that was it.
Mr. Rogers sort of switches tone into like a real when he's narrating this nature documentary.
He's no David Attenborough.
He's no
or
David
Morgan
Attenborough,
Freeman.
but he's got that sort of folksy Hummingbirds eat 5 times their own weight in gold every day.
That's a true fact.
That's a direct quote. But yeah, it's very reminiscent of Turtle Calls of North America, which is a good They Might Be Giants B-side or podcast excerpt or something. Put it up on the Tumblr. I like it. It's funny.
Okay, agreed.
Some
stuff happens, but it's not really that interesting
Not
to
really.
talk about.
We watch some hummingbirds flying around. There's a guy feeding a hummingbird out of a cup of sugar water.
Yeah.
My only question is, how long was that guy standing there holding that sugar water before the hummingbird was coaxed in for a drink? Because from my understanding, hummingbirds are not... They're kind of
Mr.
skittish.
Rogers said they were friendly.
Yeah, but I have heard
You think
of people...
he's just basing that off of the one clip?
I'm just saying, I've known people who have bought, like, hummingbird helmets, which are like motorcycle helmets with flowers on them that you fill with sugar water, and they're painted like... And apparently you have to sit still for a while before any hummingbirds will...
Poke you in the eyes.
Venture in and give you a peck on the lips. And that's my last note.
Yeah, Mr. Rogers makes
home.
a remark about coming to his house with 2 fans and leaving with 3 because he made one.
Yeah, that's a for profit.
As he's leaving, he sings a song and he leaves. And one of the last things that he says before the end of the episode, he says, "Listen, tomorrow we're going to do the opera, and this might be something good for your whole family to watch."
I missed that. Does he say that?
Yeah, no, he's like,
Wow.
maybe you could get your whole family. I think everyone would enjoy it. And it sort of seemed like listen, kids, we put a lot of work into this, and I don't want our artistry to be lost on someone of like 4 or 5 years old.
Adult jokes in here?
No, I don't think so.
I'm not saying, but like maybe this is.
I think he just thinks it's a real big production and
fair enough.
Thinks it's
the thing.
It's more than just an older man babysitting a preschool kid with stock footage.
Doesn't do that thing so much that you see in some shows where you're like, oh, the kids aren't getting these jokes.
No,
they're like there's bits and pieces where you're like, I mean, that's sort of what this whole podcast is about. Is this is surprisingly weird or surprisingly hip?
Yeah,
in a couple places. But by and large, there's not really any attempt to...
The child is the sole audience of this.
Yeah, they're not doing any Game of Thrones parodies.
No.
About sports equipment. That's a thing Sesame Street did.
Oh.
Yeah. That's about it. I haven't got anything more. Have you got anything more?
No, I'm excited to see this opera.
I'm excited to see this opera too.
So, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Next week we'll be talking about episode 1475, volume 1, episode 15.
Very exciting.
Be sure to check out our Tumblr, pleasewontyoubemi.tumblr.com.
It's a great Tumblr. My favorite Tumblr. Bar some.
Our theme song was provided by Dan Brisbane.
Dan Brisbane and he got beef. Dan Brisbane, come at me. I decided to take an antagonistic approach this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And our trolley transition tune was created by Rindale.
Rindale, you and me are cool. For now. For now.
We'll be back when the week is new.
Yes, we will.
And we'll have more ideas for you.
Yeah. Mean ideas about how we're going to fight friends of ours. And strangers on the internet, maybe.
Andrew, it sounds like you'll have things you'll want to talk about.
And sing about, because it's an opera.
Never mind. I will too.
A lot of fighting in operas, so it's thematically appropriate.
So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please, won't you be my podcast?
You know what people use fans for? They make the air come onto their faces so that they'll be cool.